All right, we are live.
Hey everybody, it's Dale Jr. for the Dale Jr. Download. This is the Ask Jr. part of the show, my favorite part of the show, brought to you by Xfinity. They've been a great partner for us, obviously supporting NASCAR in the Xfinity Series. They're a premier partner for NASCAR, so we appreciate everything Xfinity does for our sport. I'm a customer, actually, as well, so I have Xfinity Internet at a location and use it, and I'm happy with it. So anyways, we had Marcus Smith on already in the studio, and boy, I had a lot of things to ask him about Bristol Dirt, right, and Nashville, Atlanta, and had it all planned out, and he even had some bombs to drop.
Yes, he did.
That we never even expected, so you're definitely going to want to tune in. He absolutely said some amazing things about some I don't even want to give it away, but pretty awesome, and Mike brought it up. He has been on the show more than anyone else. This is his fourth appearance on the show, which blows my mind. But because he's not a superstar NASCAR driver, he's not a veteran of the past, not our typical guest, but he's been on here more than anyone else. And I think it's because he's doing so many good things in the sport, and everybody wants to know what's next. So he tells us a lot about that. Anyways. We did not do an open segment for the show today. That gives us a little more time, I hope, to do a little longer Ask Junior. So let's get those questions coming. Leah?
The questions are rolling in. Everybody just wants to know what you thought of the dirt race.
I loved it. There's some I'm sure some things to be learned and some adjustments to be made to make the experience better. But I think it was a win. It was a plus. It was a success, something I want to see again. I wanted to be there in person. The weather wasn't allowing us to get and travel into Bristol on Sunday morning. So we didn't go. Monday I was busy, couldn't leave the house. So I didn't get to see it in person. I really want to see what that's like and what the energy is like at the racetrack itself. I'm sure there's going to be so many people with the same opinion and buying tickets for that race next year. So I'm looking forward to seeing it. I hope that it's here to stay, and I hope that it's just at Bristol. I think that there's potential for us to have success at dirt tracks outside of Bristol, but let's just do it at Bristol for a little while and figure it out. Get it right. Get our cars right. We got a new car coming into the sport in a year or two. Let's get all the bugs worked out of this before we go taking it everywhere. When something good happens in NASCAR, everybody tries to want to recreate it. We're seeing that with we saw that with the mile-and-a-half track boom. We're seeing it a little bit with the road course track boom into the those tracks coming into the schedule, multiplying, and so let's just keep it at Bristol, go a couple years and see how things work, and see what develops from there, and then we'll. I think I'm going to be definitely tuning into the truck race at Knoxville. I'm super excited and hopeful that is a great success. That's just like Eldora, that's a purpose-built dirt track facility, and it'd be interesting to see if we can go to those places and continue to have success there like we've had at Eldora. So that's exciting as well, and certainly factors into what dirt racing looks like for NASCAR and the Cup Series long term.
Patty Steffen wants to know if you were surprised by Martin Truex Jr. winning the truck race.
I'm not. And I love to see Martin do well because he's one of the drivers that I got to work with early on in his career. And when Rick was in between drivers, I tried my hardest to get him to hire Martin. And he didn't. There were a couple other people in the works there, and Martin kind of got lost in the shuffle, and he hadn't, won as many races at that particular point in his career. But he goes on to, surpass my win total and going further beyond winning more races in the future. I'm sure he's a champion. So I texted Rick as soon as he won that first stage. I texted Rick Hendrick. I said, "Hey, you watching this truck race? Truex just dusted him, man. Don't you wish you kind of would have hired him when I told you to?" So I like to rub that in a little bit. Anyways, so I like to see him do good. He's a great guy, hunting buddy, and I think he surprised himself. We were texting, me and Martin were texting after the truck race, and he was laughing because he was surprised as everybody else, I think.
One more dirt racing question before we move on.
Sure.
Richard Payne, he says he understands the move to the single file restarts, but would you have liked to see NASCAR go back to the double file restart in overtime?
That would have probably been my preference, but I think once you make the decision, it's hard to go back. If you make a choice to make that change mid-race, that's a commitment. That's a big change. That's a big deal. Everybody was on social media either saying what a great decision or clowning it. I think you can't go back. You just open yourself up to more criticism and less legitimate of an event by continuing to kind of pull these strings as the race goes on. They made the choice, and I like the fact that they stuck with it. We still had a pretty interesting finish to the race. If we don't have a yellow at the end, it doesn't even have that yellow flag or overtime. So if we don't have the caution, but I didn't have a problem with it. I was surprised though that they did that. I was surprised that they went single file in the middle of the race. That was a big gamble. That could have went. I guess I don't know that it could have went wrong, but typically I wouldn't have guessed they would have made that decision. But it was funny because we race online in these online races and iRacing, and there's admins in these leagues, and they make changes like that in the middle of the race, and it's just made me chuckle a little bit that the league admins were ticked off. Said, "Oh, boys can't stop wrecking. We're going single file." It was funny.
All right, Matthew T wants to know, if you knew it wouldn't affect performance, what's a feature from a normal vehicle that you would like to add to a race car? No performance. It wouldn't affect performance at all.
What's a feature? Oh, man. I don't know. I don't know. What? Help me, Mike. Help me.
Oh, dude, this would be your, I definitely wouldn't know. I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not going to be any help on this one.
Yeah. There's nothing. I don't think there's anything. I hope, I miss the days where race cars had stock panels and the bodies looked identical to what you see driving up and down the street. So that's kind of where my mind goes with the question. What can we do to make the cars look more recognizable to what we have riding up down the road, to bring more brand identity to the sport and make the manufacturer involvement in the sport a lot more impactful, both ways. Like the manufacturers, win on Sunday, sell on Monday, kind of thing. And so that's where my head goes. I guess more factory style parts and pieces on the exterior of the cars.
Everyone's saying air conditioning, but you guys have cooling hoses, right? So
they're not that great.
They're not.
I mean, they only give you enough power just to get a little bit cooler air. It's about 10 or 20 degrees, maybe cooler than the interior of the cockpit. So it's still like 95-degree air, but when you are in 120 degrees and you feel 95-degree air, it's oddly cooler, right? It's not like, oh, that's hot. It's 95-degree air. It's kind of like, wow, that feels better than what else is in here, right? It's kind of weird.
Interesting.
Air conditioners. I mean, I think some sort of modern take on air conditioners might be nice. I don't know.
Everyone's also saying radio, which I don't think that'll work because you need to hear spotter.
Dude, yes.
Good.
But they got the technology to where the radio could be playing, and when the spotter keys up, it could cancel it out, because I had that when we would go test. So when we go to Daytona and test, I had a radio harness that I could plug into my – this was back when MP3 players were a thing. I could have my MP3 player playing, but if Tony Jr. keyed the mic, I'd hear him. It was nice.
TJ could just sing to you.
People are really saying radios and
radio and air conditioning are the two.
Hey,
goodness.
They answered the question for us because we had nothing, so we can't complain.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right. Next question coming from Brent Scott. What are your thoughts on the lack of qualifying? It seems to be hurting the growth of the sport.
I don't think it's hurting the growth of the sport, but I do miss it. So when we saw practice this weekend, it really woke me up to being like, I didn't know if I missed it, right? Couldn't tell. I was like, well, I don't know if I missed practice or qualifying. I kind of don't know, right? And then we saw some practice this weekend, and I was like, absolutely, this is fun. Obviously, I was curious to watch practice because it was dirt, Bristol, it was new, got to see it. But it made me remember what watching practice kind of felt like and how that adds to the race weekend. It sets the tone of who's fast, who's slow, it sets some storylines. People have good things happen to them in practice, bad things happen to them in practice, engine issues or crashes or problem, whatever, right? You even see some of the disagreements between drivers even play out in practice. So as a broadcaster, practice is a great tool to sort of help you understand what to expect on race day, and it bends the storylines and continues to shape the storylines going into the race. Whereas without practice or qualifying, everybody, me, you, the drivers, everybody goes in there cold and just flips on switch, and there we go. And it's a bit awkward and weird to try to shape an event, as a broadcaster from scratch. So I really miss practice and qualifying, and I hope that there's some version of that for us in the future. I don't know that we need to go all the way back to 6 hours of practice every weekend or whatever, but I hope there's some new version of that going forward once we get opened all the way up and everybody's back at the track.
Jared Lyons asks, what are your thoughts on iRacing adding the Chicago street course?
That was something we didn't ask Marcus about. We should have. I think that iRacing is quickly, over the last couple of years, becoming an incredible asset to NASCAR. That relationship is getting stronger and stronger as NASCAR is starting to see what a great benefit iRacing is to them. Not only are we marketing toward a younger crowd and getting younger people introduced to racing and and NASCAR as a series, because when you go on iRacing, you might go on there for the European content or a certain particular car that's nothing to do with NASCAR or stock cars, right? But you learn about all sports, all forms of motorsports, on iRacing, and your curiosity sort of lets you run all over the place and drive different cars and different tracks. So anyways, those online simulators, video games, and all those other things are a great way to market to that audience or a new audience. But we're also seeing how iRacing and the technology that they use to scan tracks, create tracks, the technology they had to develop all of that software, how NASCAR can use it to experiment, right? To build a new racetrack, to reconfigure a old racetrack, to design a street course. I think that everybody's curious to see what a street course style race would look like for our Cup cars and our drivers. And we want to see them in that challenging environment and going through something they've never done before, right? Just like this past weekend at Bristol on dirt, it was fun to see them sort of adapt to what was happening. And I think that's what I look forward to if they were ever to go to a street course. I think that Chicago's a town that we certainly would love to be competing in. I don't know what the future is for the racetrack out there. It doesn't look good. So if we can have a street course, something that is only unique to Chicago, that would be incredible for the sport. And I think they're using this as a way to test those waters and see how that might work out and what it might look like. And I think NASCAR is really starting to realize and open their eyes to using iRacing as that tool to sort of see into the future and seeing the possibilities on these venues. It's really awesome. As a big fan of iRacing, I'm loving the fact that the organizations such as NASCAR and other organizations as well, other sports governing bodies, are seeing how they can use iRacing to benefit their futures.
All right, guys, that's it for today.
Well, darn. All right.
Well, darn.
I really do like this part of the show. It's a lot of fun. I feel like we're having a conversation, and I love the interaction. I love bringing the people that support our show into the show, and this is kind of feels like we do that in the Ask Junior part of the show, but I hate it when it's over. I could sit here and talk all day, talk racing all day with all you guys. thanks to Xfinity for supporting our show, supporting the Ask Junior part of the show. Remember, we talked about Marcus. He's got some great things that I think you guys are going to love to hear. Hopefully you'll tune in and listen to the podcast when it drops later tonight. Don't forget that the TV version of our show on NBCSN, it's on Thursday at 6:30 Eastern Time, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time on Thursday. They're going to move us to Thursday, I think, in a more consistent manner. So, anyways, we'll keep you up to date on when to see it. But this week, Thursday, 6:30. I hope everybody enjoyed this past weekend and this race this past Monday. I certainly did. I look forward to what's coming down the pipe. Everybody have a great week.